Hello YouTube. On this video I'm going to talk about SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and it's a prerequisite for any kind of data related job. So if you're looking to become a data analyst, BI developer, data scientist, or any kind of data related database driven work, SQL will be your number one choice. So on this video, we are going to talk about how to query SQL, and I'm doing this tutorial with Microsoft SQL Server. SQL Server is that is used in the industry. So without further ado, let's get started. So on this video, I'm going to talk about how to get info on a table, how to do a basic select query, how to get unique records from a table, filtering a table with where stored data on the table, how to aggregate data on a table, how to use case statement to derive a column out of the existing data in a database, how to combine rows by using union, how to join data to get other columns from different tables, and how to load a aggregated data into a temporary table. All right, so we have a lot to cover, and let's get started. What I have prepared here is a script that we're going to go for each agenda items. So what we'll start here is with SSMS. SSMS, what you see on the screen stands for Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. This is a client tool that helps us connect to a database. Right? So on the left hand side, what you'll see is um, the Object Explorer, which has different databases. So inside the database folder, you can see I have one database that is AdventureWorks Data Warehouse 2012, which is a easily available database from Microsoft, which is used for teaching purposes as well as doing so many demo work. So inside the database, you can see there are many tables in one schema. So there's only one schema, DBO, and there are various tables that we are going to use throughout this series. So let's get started. So I'm trying to cover the basics and as less time as possible. So I have come up with a script so that we are not writing the SQL during the video, so saves us time. So what I've done here in the first part is let's get some information about the table itself. So what you can see here is select count star. I have aliased this as number of columns from table. This is the schema, and this is a table where table name is table catalog is the table the database name, and table name is dim customer. So if you run this, it'll give us the number of columns of this dim customer table. Right? So if we do a count star on the table, so select count star as number of rows from the same table, it will give us the number of columns. So if we, the other way to kind of get information on a table is just by selecting from the GUI. You can see that on the bottom row, if we remove the top 1000, you'll get the total number of rows in the table. So 18,484. To get the columns is not straightforward because it's a wide table, but if you count the number of columns, you will get what is outputted by this query. The number is 29. All right, so that was information about the table. All right, so you don't have to know this. Just wanted to show you a way to get information about the table. If you come from Python or a background, we have handy function to do that, and that's the first step of analyzing data. So I just want to cover that in the SQL environment. All right, let's get to the basics, and this is where our video begins. So if you look into the select star from a table. So this is the way to get all the columns from a table and with all the rows. So you can see if I do select star from and table name, this will give us all the records of a table. So that has all the columns, all 29 columns, and gives us all 18,864 rows. All right, so the other way would be to get only a partial column of the table. So in this case, you can specify the columns you want to be outputted from the query. So in this case, I have done select customer key, which is the first column, title, the column right here, the first name, comma, last name. So different columns are separated by commas from the table. So if we run that query, you get just the column selected, or just a column specified as part of the select clause, right? So you get only the columns that you choose, right? So this is the basic building block of all select statement. And repeat that again. So select column name from the table, right? So you can also run it without the schema name because we have only one schema here. This runs fine, right? So the next block here is how to get unique records from a table. So the way to do that is to select, and here we'll be using a keyword distinct. So distinct gives us unique rows. So if you do select gender without distinct, it gives us all the 18,000 rows with the pertinent value on the gender column. But if you do distinct, select distinct column name from the table, it will give you the unique values on that column, right? So which are female and male, or F or M. Now let's come to the next agenda item, which is getting rows with a condition, or how to put filter on a table. So you can achieve that by doing select star, which star gives everything from the table, or you can specify any column that you need from in the table name, where title, this is the column. So title is the column. We are putting filter on a title. So if I just do select star from the table, it returns all 18,484 rows. But if I just put a filter on this, so here we have done there two values on the gender column, so which are male or female, right, so select rows with a condition. So on select rows with a condition, we can put filter on a column to only get the values, only get the rows that are filtered with that are that satisfy the filter condition, right? So you do select star from the table where the column equals the value. So in this case, it's only selecting data where we have Mr. on the title. So you can only see select which returned 52 rows. So we can do something like gender. We can do gender equals F. So it'll only give us the rows which have F or female in the gender. So which turns out to be 9,133. So that's how the where condition is used, right? So apart from the fixed values where we put on the where clause, we can also specify some criteria. So what it's doing here is select star from the table where first name is, let's say, like, and apostrophe starts with a A. So A and percentage symbol means it starts with a A and it can have anything else after that. So this percentage symbol symbolizes it can have anything. So it's called a wildcard character. So you can have, when you have something like this, it gives us all the records where first name starts with a A and can have anything after it. So if you see that, so first name starts with A and it can have anything else and after that. So it returned 1919 rows, right? So you can also do not like. So it will return anything that does not, and where the first name does not start with the A. So you can see that first name here, John, Eugene. You can also use sort this data by first name so that you can actually verify that. All right, and select and run execute, and you can see the first name started with B here, right? So it's working correctly. Now let's work on the next step here. So apart from just on these two instances here, we just use one filter condition, but you can have more than one filter condition. Here we have an example where the title is Mr. and the first name starts with A. So you can have and or and the filter criteria as well. So if you do or, then it can have anything that starts with A and as well as title starts with a Mr. Which return 1966 records. If you do and, then it will return something that has title with Mr. and starts with a first name, which is going to have very low number of records. Only 5 records satisfy that criteria. All right, so I just touched on this earlier. So how to sort the data, you can use order by. So order by is comes after where. So you can do select star from the table where you put the condition and you do order by the column that you want to sort by. So in this case, we are sorting by the first name. So you can see, um, so we have Barbara, Benjamin, Bethany, Billy, Bob, and Brad. If you see below, we have C. So you get the idea. All right, so if you look into the next step here, so we did a sorting by sending, but if you add a keyword DESC um, after the column name, it basically sorts it on the opposite order, which is the descending order. So if I run this, the first name is sorted by Z. So you get the idea. You can have more sorting by uh, sorting on more columns by using comma, and you can use like more columns. So let's say sort the first name in a descending order but middle name in the ascending order. So you'll see, let's say for this row here, you have Jackery, which starts has middle name D and E. So ideally, this D row 25 or the customer key 28045 should be on the second row rather than on the third. So let's run this. But there were more instances where there was null, and our record Jackery has a lot of nulls as well, but you see D28045 appeared before middle name E, Jackery E, right? So that's how you can expand on the order by to add more columns. All right, so let's go to the aggregation. So if you want to do some aggregation, do count, min, max, sum, then you can use aggregate functions. In this case here, what I'm doing is select count. Star means count any column because it's going to be the same. So count star from table. So we have alias this as count of rows. You can do as, and you can specify any name to the column that you're aggregating. So you can run this. So it will give us, it has 18,484 records. So if you do not do aliasing, what happens? It will return a blank column. So it has no column name here. But if we do as, so count star, show this as count of rows, that goes in the column here, right? So similarly, you can do average, which is another aggregator function. So select average of the yearly income. So you can see yearly income is another column in the dim customer table. And what I have done here is select average yearly income and call it alias as average income from table where children is greater than 0. So in this case here, the average income of anyone who has children is 59,564. Right? So this is a simple aggregation. Just it aggregates everything on the table. In this case here, it aggregates everything on the table. Here we have used a filter condition. So we can also do without the where. So if we do without the where, the average yearly income is a little bit lower. So it was 57,305 on all the data, and it's a little higher for those who have children, right? So here we have aggregated the data, but we have grouped by gender. So what this query is doing is select the count of gender as well as how much income do they make. So select gender, count star how many of those records we have per gender, and what's the average income they make. And when we do aggregate function and include a non-numeric column, when we do not use any aggregate, so when we use a combination of aggregated function on a column and non-aggregated column, we have to use group by on the non-aggregated column. So in this case here, let's make it simple, commenting that column. So what you're doing here is we are counting gender and group by gender. In this case, we have 133 rows corresponding to female, and we have 9,351 rows corresponding to male. And if we add one more aggregation to this, which is the yearly income of male and female, in this case we can get that as those values. So female have average income of 57,369 and male have 57,243. So they're pretty even, and the count of those male and female are very close as well. So we could also add, let's say, a where clause to this aggregate query. We can see that for somebody who is married, the data does not change much, right? Or somebody who have children, the data does not change much. So this is how we can aggregate data in SQL. So now we go to the next functionality of SQL, is an ability to create new column based on the data. So here we have the same scenario that we have used previously. So select column name from table, but what we have done here is added a case and derived some categories. So case, when the column is greater than 100,000, then call it high. And when yearly income is greater than 50,000, then call it average. And when yearly income is greater than 0, then call it low, else call it none. And we have to end a case statement, and as we are aliasing that as income category, if we run that, we get all the columns. And here for somebody whose income is 90,000, we have called it say average to anyone who has income greater than 50,000. If their income was higher than 100,000, we call it high, but between 50,000 and 100,000 we call it average. So all this condition satisfies here for average. All right, so for anybody that has 100,000, it's categorizing at high, or somebody who has on the 30,000, 20,000 range, it's categorizing as low. So again, the syntax is select column and case when, column name and the condition, then the value you want to specify. The other condition is starts here when the column and is greater than the condition, then average, and at the end you can end it with else, and that's the way you can create new derived column from existing data. All right, so what we have done so far is selecting all data from a table, selecting partial columns from a table, and filtering data using where, and sorting data. Then we looked into aggregating data by using various aggregate functions, and we looked into how we can create new columns using case statement. And now we look into how to combine data by rows, and that's where union comes into play. So here we have a query that is giving us the count and average income of male gender. So here the output is same as what we looked above, but if we put a union between two queries, here it's the same exact query, but we have gender equals female. If we run that, union combines those two rows and shows you the output, right? So there are a couple criteria for union to work. The column should be of same data type. So if this is a string data type, which is non-numerical data, then the next query should also output the same data type, which is non-numerical data. So here we have count, which is identical data type, and average income is the same data type. And if we run this, we get an union. One thing to note here is union filters duplicates. So let's say, let me remove some space here. And if I do another union and basically copy this query and run all together at once, remember we have one query that is related to male, that's getting count and average income for male, and we have two queries that are getting data for female. But when you see the output, it filtered out the duplicate. Instead of union, if we do union all does not filter out duplicate. So what you will see is it has double counted, or double, it will also show you, it'll also output the female. So that's the difference between union and union all. Union filters out duplicates, union all does not filter out duplicate. All right, so what we looked here was combining data by rows. The next step is how to combine data um, in columns by joining into other tables. So you have two tables. So let's say we have one table that is a dim customer, and we have another table that is fact internet sales. So this stores all the transaction that happened on the system. So in this case here, we need to join this two table to get a view of all the transaction happened from that customer. So what we can do is we can join these two tables. So let's say uh, for now we have commented the other table. So select column name from table where customer key is 11,000. So it has filtered filtered customer table based on this customer key. But we can do join the other table, and we have, just like we can alias the column, we can alias the table as well. Here I have called dim customer C and fact internet sales as S. And when we join table, we need to tell SQL on what column would you like to join. So we have to find common column between the tables. So in this case here, we have internet sales, which has customer key, which is a common column, and we also have customer key on the customer dim customer table. So this is the basis of our join. And if we add that as part of the SQL query, we get all the columns specified. C dot gives us all the column from the customer table that we have specified, and comma S dot star gives all the column from the fact internet sales table. So you can see this up to here. We have up to here we have data from the customer table, and all these data points are coming from the fact internet sales. So you can see how we can join two tables to get new column from that additional table, right? So this gives us all the columns from fact internet sales that were pertaining to this customer key, 11,000. Right? So this is a basic introduction to join. We'll explore join further in upcoming videos. And putting it all together, what we looked into earlier is we looked into a way of getting data from information about a table. So this query, what I have done is I've combined the rows and column by using cross join. We'll explore this further. That gives us number of columns and number of rows, and this is our query so far. So this is the final query that we have built based on what we have learned so far. So select has, you can specify the column you would like from table. You can alias a table with anything that you'd like, and join. It's an inner join to another table based on key column where gender equals male. This is the criteria that we have given. So if we run this, we get an error. All right, because we are missing some other parts. We have the condition as well, so let me run that. So here we have the output. So what we have done here is we have selected the basic columns, then we have aggregated the sales amount for this customer values, and we have also derived a new column called income category based on the values of yearly income, and we have ordered that by birth date. Here, as I have mentioned previously, anything that is not aggregated needs to be part of the group by that we have done here, and we have ordered the data by birth date in a descending order. Right, so that is our final query. When we went through a lot, hopefully that helped you to get a basic understanding of SQL and how to use it. I will link this script as part of my video description, so you can download it and you can practice it on your own. That's all for now. Thank you very much.